Hi and welcome to a look today at the mod for Doom 3 called Overthinked Doom 3. I haven't played this before, apart from just a couple of minutes, and it appealed to me on ModDB due to the pace of gameplay that's supposed to be different. You have to sort of think a bit more about what you're doing, and I think that's what the mod aims to do, is to make it a bit more of a thoughtful process rather than a kind of a gun-ho experience. And the few minutes that I have played, I ran out of ammunition. Now I haven't tried the other difficulty modes in the game, so I'm almost as oblivious to it as you may be. I thought it'd be quite interesting to play it pretty much blind on camera and just take a look at it and just as per usual, air my thoughts and observations. And as always, I'll provide links in the video description of where you can obtain this mod. So yes, as we can see here, it says in part 2, number 2, it says this mod is all about tactics. And the brief amount of time that I've spent playing it, I would agree with that. It's not so far removed from the normal game that you can't enjoy the combat, but you do have to think ahead a little bit. Right, so the installation process, it's a standard download, about 2 gigabytes, doesn't take that long, depending on your internet connection of course. I should also add there's a language patch file, which I haven't played the game long enough to actually see the actual effect of this yet, but as I understand it, I think I've placed it in the correct path. I'm using a Steam Doom 3, which is automatically patched to, I think it's 1.3.1. Steam automatically patches your game to that, so that's fine. For those running a retail version, I don't know if it works on that. I expect it does. What I'll probably do is leave the patch to enable you to get the game to 1.3.1, but I think most people these days are running a Steam version, or something equivalent anyway. So what you need to do is download the 2 files, the 2 gigabyte file, and the language patch is only about 28 kilobytes, so it's very small. So once you've downloaded the mod, just extract it to a place of your choosing, and then place that file, Overthinked, into your main Doom 3 location. The language patch, which is this file here, just drop it in there. Now I'm not absolutely certain that's where that language patch has to go, but I believe it is, because it does say in the instructions just to place it where the main mod is, and that would be Overthinked, so that makes sense. Now because Doom 3 is such an old game, when it loads up for the first time, the resolution that will be displayed will be very likely lower than what you want. So it advises you here to make an addition to the autoexec config file, which is actually inside the main mod. Let's just go back to that. There we are, that's it there. You can just open it with something like Notepad or whatever. Now you can do it this way, you can add the lines in that it shows you here. I'm using a 16:9 aspect ratio, so I would type in C to R mode. You can just literally copy it really, just to make sure that you include the right numbers, but C to R mode -1, C to R aspect ratio 1, which accounts for the 16:9 ratio. You don't want to actually include, for example, that bit there. You just want to have the right number after the ratio in that instance. And then you've got C to R custom height, which will be your custom height. As you can see, it's very low on default, so mine would be custom height 1440, and then the C to R custom width would be 2560. If you were doing 1080p, that's what, is that 1920 by 1080? It's been a while since I've used that. So that would be 1920, and then the custom height would be 1080. Now, I actually did it a different way to this, purely through routine. I suppose you could say I did it not incorrectly, but I didn't do it the way it recommended you do it. I simply made an adjustment to the Doom config file, and it's already got the relevant text in there. You just have to locate it, and I just changed a few numbers. Like there, it's already got C to R custom height, custom width, C to R mode. So I just changed the values, that's all I did, and that seems to work just fine. So that's it. I haven't had any problems starting once changing those values. I didn't have any problems to begin with, but as expected, it didn't look right because it was a terrible resolution. It was far too low. If you've got an ATI or AMD graphics card, you may have an issue. You may need to follow these steps here, but I don't see there being a major problem. I have had an AMD card before, and I've managed to run Doom 3 with mods without too much difficulty. And Nvidia don't have it all their own way either. Unfortunately, as I've touched before on, I think I did a Quake 4 video, and in that I couldn't use the HDR, and the same applies to this. I can't use the HDR, sadly. I believe you can if you use a very old Nvidia driver, but yeah, it looks great to me, so I'm going to just leave it as it is. So with that said, let's take a look at the mod. Now in the actual system options, just ignore the resolution because you've already adjusted the resolution in a config file, and you should notice the difference when it loads up. For example, I'm using a shadow play counter, which I'm assuming you can see in the top right of the screen. If you can't, then you'll just have to take my word for it. But that will, look a lot smaller once you up the resolution. So just because you see, a very low resolution in the screen size here, just ignore it. As long as you've made the correct adjustments in the config file, then you should have no problem. So I pay very little attention to this. What I want to look at here is the SICK mod options. Now, I can't speak for AMD or ATI users, but when you get to the HDR, unless you're running a very, very old driver, I'm going to take a educated guess here and say something in the realm of sort of a launch driver for the GTX 600 series Nvidia cards. That might have worked, I'm not sure. You're going to have to turn the HDR off, otherwise it's going to look like loads of colours and flashing lights on the screen. So therefore unplayable. But otherwise I've got the bloom set on. Colour grading, to be honest, I don't really know what that does. So, I could turn that on, couldn't I? The Edge AAA, let's see what that does to the frame rate. Alright, I'll try that and see how it looks. It looked pretty good anyway. But I've got the colour grading on. I haven't touched anything else there apart from what you just saw me do there with the AAA. Depth of field I've left to manual. Haven't really noticed much difference, to be honest, at the moment. HDR I've mentioned. I tried experimenting with Tone Mapper and Dither and so on, but it made no difference. It just looks absolutely terrible. So sadly I've got to turn that off. But I'm not that bothered really. Motion blur I always leave off. Don't like it. Soft shadows, I could enable this funnily enough, whereas in some Doom 3 mods I haven't been able to. But I didn't really like it, to be honest. So I've turned that off for now. I might tinker with it briefly once we start playing, just to show some effects, but I didn't think it looked all that great. SSAO, again, I did tinker with this in the first few minutes of play. And surprisingly, the one that I believe you're supposed to select if you've got an AMD or ATI card, which is HDAO, actually looked the best for my Nvidia card. Some of the other settings like HBAO, which you would assume I'd choose for an Nvidia configuration, look terrible. And a lot of the others look bad as well, so I have to stay with HDAO. I don't think it's really that important. I could easily turn it off, so just experiment and play and see what you think. But I'll probably show you what happens when I select different options there anyway. The Sun FX I've left as is, and the miscellaneous I've left as is as well. So now that's taken care of, let's actually start a game. I'm not going to start from the very beginning. I'm going to start shortly after you meet Sergeant Kelly and you make your way down to find the scientist. Now, when you select which game you want, it says click on this one, and that's the one that I've been playing. I don't really know just how lame or simplified that is, but this is what I'm going to be playing for this particular video, and it's, by the looks of the comment at the very bottom, it's this is the way the developer meant it to be played. So let's try this one. Right, so I thought this was quite a good place to start the video, actual gameplay footage. So let's take a look at the options again and see how various changes can affect the look of the game. Right, so if I select HDR, this is what it looks like. And just about any configuration I've tried results in a very, very similar looking picture. So naturally, you don't want to play it like that. So you're going to have to turn it off if, unless you want to revert to a very old NVIDIA driver, which, you know, no reason why you can't do that. But I'm happy with the way it looks, so I'll leave it at that for this installation video. So let's just check that works again. Okay, good. Right, the soft shadows, I did employ them earlier on. I don't think I tinkered with the blur filter, so let's take a look at how it looks at the moment. Yeah, I remember seeing these kind of sweeping lines, which, if anything, kind of got on my nerves after a while. It looked kind of, it just didn't look quite right to me. Yeah, something's not quite right there. So let's try the blur filter to, right, let's try none. That's certainly more subtle and softer. And I would say that at first glance looks to be tolerable. Maybe. Perhaps not. So back again. That's box, whatever that means. God, look at the frame rate drop. I'm running at 25 frames a second. So I know soft shadows can be a real performance hog, but I wasn't seeing this earlier. Poisson? Right, again, I'm not really seeing much difference. I just think it doesn't really work for me. And all you get in return is a massive frame rate hit. So yeah, I'm going to turn off the soft shadows for this video. So I'm just going to pop back again and see how much the frames go up. Yeah, it's about a 15 to 20 frame jump. That said, something's still not quite right. It's still got that kind of sweeping look about it. Okay, so I've experimented with soft shadows, and apart from a frame rate hit, I haven't noticed really any improvement. You may see more of an improvement with an older driver, but this looks pretty good to me, so this will be fine for this particular video. I guess you could possibly experiment with these and see if it makes any difference, but I had a brief change with this and selected various different options and nothing much changed. Right, so what's the next thing? SSAO. Yeah, here we are. So it's currently on HDAO, and for NVIDIA cards, I understand that ideally you want HBAO. So this is what it looks like on low HBAO. That's a really amazing kind of film grain, actually. So that's terrible. So yeah, do away with that straight away. And the high version looks like this. Not as bad, but it still doesn't look right, as you can see. And I experimented with various others, and none of them look right to me, so I'm just going to stick with the HDAO, and that looks... actually, I might try turning it off completely and just see if there's any change. Looks very slightly more subtle than HDAO when that's employed, but it's so hard to tell with some of these things, and all you get is a frame rate hit, really. Oh well, I'll leave it on for this video. It does make a bit of a dent in the frames, but it's playable enough. Feels reasonably smooth. So SSIL, I did once know what that stood for. I can't remember now. I don't think it makes a huge difference to the look on the screen like a lot of these options, but I'll just try turning it off and see what that does. Definitely feels crisper and smoother, no question. I mean, look at the frame rate difference. It's, whatever I do, it's no lower than 62. And it still looks great, so I'm going to leave it at that, I think. Yeah, I've turned off the SSAO now as well. And I'm very happy with the way it looks, actually. It just goes to show you that some of these options don't always, you know, they're not always necessary. Still looks great. I haven't actually tinkered with the field of view in this mod because A, I don't know what it is, and secondly, I couldn't remember what the required console command was to alter it, although I have used one before. But I'm happy with that. That looks to be about 90 to me, which is a nice field of view. So as you can see, I've turned quite a few of these things off. I've got bloom on, color grading's on for what it's worth. I might try the Edge AA to that RGB setting, see how that tanks the frame rate. I can't notice any difference really in terms of performance hit. In terms of appearance, looks to be much the same. I suppose for screenshots, FX AA isn't the best, but I've just changed it to that, and it does look a bit softer, a bit less jagged edges slightly on these sort of metal tower structures. So I'm happy with that. Right, that's the depth of field turned off. To be honest, it's got a fairly soft look about it anyway, so it's not a huge difference really. So that's the depth of field turned to automatic. I can barely detect any difference. And that's on manual, which again I can't see a difference, so I'll just leave it at that. It's not offensive, so I'll leave it on, though I can barely see a difference. Maybe it's a touch softer, I'm not sure. Right, so I've just made a quick save and I'm now ready to start the game properly. As per usual when you play a sort of fairly taxing Doom 3 mod, the rock is always going to look very different. It's one of the first things I notice when you start in the opening sort of actual moment of gameplay. I'm pretty much going to avoid a lot of the conversations with the scientists because you've probably heard them all before, and we're not really here for that.
Hey, you're looking for me.
It's something you can listen to later on.
Scotty, I've done this a million times. It's not that hard. Why don't you crawl your fat ass down here and do it yourself?
That looks very nice. So aside from the visual improvements, which are clearly evident, this is also about gameplay changes, which is the main reason which attracted me to it, actually. I wanted to test it and see just how different it was.
Maintenance guys not keep any of these machines.
Certainly looks mighty sharp, even when you get quite close to it. This bit, though, I find in some Doom 3 mods, this kind of colour mush, this kind of texture look, it looks, I mean, I'm not one for highly polished, glossy textures all the time, because I think that can look too far the other way, but this doesn't look quite right to me. So whether it's an inadequacy of the mod, I don't know. But it's something that I've seen routinely on Doom 3 mods, you know, like this. Now, Unless my memory fails me, this section here is probably the best looking Doom 3 external appearance I've ever seen. I'm not sure if I'm actually seeing chromatic aberration here, but for the first time in my life, it actually looks, you know, like it actually works and it fits in with what you're seeing. So if that is chromatic aberration, then in that moment there, I do like it. Very good.
Marine, this is Sergeant Kelly. You need to double time it down there. Search your assigned area and haul your ass back to Mars City. Out.
And again, you can see the texture inside here. It looks kind of washed out and kind of lacking something. But thankfully it's not very common. Not that common anyway, not compared to the other wonderful looking textures.
Huh? No, no, please. You must let me get this communication out. They have to be warned while there is still time. I can't let... You don't know what I've seen. You can't possibly understand or comprehend. The devil is real. I know. I built his cage.
I'm getting abnormal readings here. This is bad.
Oh, God!
Hold these levels.
For those that hate the sort of, you know, having to lower your weapon to use the flashlight, then I think you might be disappointed here, unless there's a way around it. But it didn't bother me. I think that was all the ammunition. So you really need to make your shots count, because the ammunition, it's not that plentiful. Oh, he's still alive.
All units, this is Sergeant Kelly. We're under attack by an unknown enemy force. Fall back to Marine HQ to regroup. I say again, fall back to Marine HQ and await further orders.
So as you can see, headshots here really are important. You don't really want to be having to plug them with too many bullets. And it's a slower, to some extent, it's a slower pace of play, but not when you're actually in combat, if you get my understanding. It's, you need to sort of prepare yourself. I suppose it probably is a big advantage for those that have played the game before.
Squad leaders give sit reps. Over.
Yeah, it certainly looks like chromatic aberration.
Command HQ, this is Bravo team. We've got one Marine down, 2 wounded.
Command HQ, this is Fire Team 4. We are pinned down in Alpha Lab. Command HQ, this is Fire Team 2. Main power systems down in sub-level.
I mean, normally I can't stand that particular effect, but I quite like it this time round.
Command HQ, attempting to secure the area.
And the frame rate is solid. It's I suppose I got a few of the options turned off, but even so, I expected it to dip much more than you know, what's happening. Yeah, I took 1 or 2 more shots than was necessary there. That's the guy I was talking to earlier. But so far, you know, reasonable use of ammunition. Not too bad. I know there's, I think most people know by now that there's some armor shards there. There is ammunition, which might be worth me getting, but yeah, alright, I'll try and get that. Might really regret saying that. It takes a bit of balancing to do it properly. Right, good. Now I think there's some supplies down here. Oh yeah, here's the ladder. Alright, got some bullets there, that's good. Because I ran out of ammunition earlier on when I played, just before I started doing the actual commentary.
All units, this is Command HQ. Report directly to Marine Headquarters and await further orders.
Certainly you can see some graphical changes here. The colours and the overall appearance does look very nice. It's a little different to what I'm not used to seeing. Right, I've got one hit on him. Yeah, there's a few too many there, unfortunately. Right, that's one. Yeah, there's quite a kickback when you get shot in this mod. I kind of expected him to walk through. That's better. I don't think that one's going to be much use now. Right, this is about as far as I've got so far. Oh, sorry fella. I think I'm just going to have to let you go for the moment, I think. That was bad, I missed twice at close range. Oh, you're kidding me, aren't you? That's more like it. For a split second, when the first shell didn't take him down, I thought, oh crap. Yeah, I don't mind the depth of field on this. It's a rarity that I like depth of field, but yeah, I quite like this. It's soft without being too much of an assault on your eyes. See how many shots it's taken to bring him down. I mean, that was quite a few, and most of them were on target, or near enough. Oh my god. Where's the shotgun when I need it? God, that was really intense. But it was good. I enjoyed that. But I thought I was a goner. Not sure how many shells this thing can hold. Oh, I see. You have to press reload each time you want to put a shell in, as you would do in real life. You know, manually reload. So 8. It can hold 8. That's better than... what does it normally hold? Is it 6 or 8? I think it's 8. This might suit my style of play a bit more because I tend to be a bit less rush around when I play games. I like to sort of explore and look at textures, and you know, I tend to not be really a spray and pray kind of player. So this kind of pace might suit me more than... That's interesting. You just press that once. Alright. So each click you press on that health station, which incidentally looks different anyway, it gives you like an X number of points, basically. It's not one click for one health, let's put it that way. I wasn't going to muck about there. Just kill the son of a bitch. Yeah, I really like the look of this, actually. It's something I can see me playing... Oh, it's a... imp. Yeah, I think this would be good if, as long as the enemy number is balanced, it's more of a tense... immersion building kind of experience. Oh, I haven't pressed the right thingamy. Oh, that was it, yeah. I knew it was around there somewhere. In fact, I only recently found out about this little, I guess you call it a secret. Never knew about it until I think it was sometime this year. Yeah, so for those people that didn't like the original Doom 3 actual gameplay, and I don't think you're going to like this, but if you like Doom 3 and you fancy a change from the norm kind of Doom experience, then I would definitely play this. Notice that I'm reloading my guns a little more often than I usually do. Wanted to take care of the imp first before the zombie was walking towards me. But I love the shotgun. It's really good. The sound of it really does feel like, you know, you're blasting at something. Oh, he did die. I thought he was still alive. But I guess I haven't looked in great detail at this mod actually. I guess the values have changed for, you know, in all regards really, you know, health and enemies and so forth. I guess it would have to really, if you're going to make it more of a survival horror experience. Look at that, the shadows and the lighting. I think my mouse sensitivity is just a bit too high at the moment, but probably haven't got all that far to go, so I'll leave it as it is. I never did like this particular aspect of the game. And managed to avoid it. Which is rare. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention you can lean in this as well, which is really dumb of me not to mention that earlier, but yeah, you can lean. So that's really cool as well. What's this off by heart? Is it 531? 584? Oh, right. No? Right, okay, let's take a look. I should know this. I'm sure it starts with a 5. Give up. Is it that guy? 531. So why didn't that work? Did I not put it in right?
All units, this is Sergeant Kelly. We don't know what we're up against. Repeat, we have negative ID on the assailing force. They're mean SOBs. You don't have a clear path back to HQ. Stock up on ammo, establish a stronghold, and keep them at bay.
Yeah, when you've played this a few times, you get used to what's going to happen.
Several wounded. We are incoming and need medical on stage and staff.
Command HQ, this is Fire Team 2. The monorail track is destroyed. Unable to secure safe transportation back to base. Over.
Roger that, Fire Team 2. Fall back to the nearest station and set up a CP there. Out.
I've noticed that happen a couple of times, which is a bit strange. I guess it's like a bug with the rag doll effect. But I think you do see it in the regular Doom 3 actually. Oh Christ, I forgot about him. Shit. God, I just suddenly did a double take. I thought, what? No, not him. Right, so I'm going to press once on here, one mouse click, and you can see the change in health. So that's about... Oh, hang on a sec, I'm wrong. It is 10 health as per click, like in the original game. It just it goes up individually at one unit at a time. So my mistake. It's been a while since I played Doom 3, so not that long though. Probably about Christmas time. Getting a bit forgetful, my old age. Yeah, I like the balance of it a lot. I mean, I should imagine it gets very hard. But providing it goes in this kind of fashion, I can see me wanting to play this right through. Possibly on camera for my channel, or whether or not I'll do it off camera, I'm not sure yet.
All units, this is Sergeant Kelly. Fall back to Marine HQ and await further orders.
So, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll probably see you next time in... I think it'll probably be Stalker OGSE Part 15, I think. So until then, take care. Bye for now.